Hello everyone, this is FantasyEsque and welcome back to the Sims 4 Vampire Amazon Royal Saga with the Salazar Coven. Today we are picking up in the banquet hall to celebrate the birthday of Princess Eve Salazar and of Princess Bloom. Now, we do have the birthdays of these two guys like one day apart. I was going to just do it all in one go, which is why they were both kind of wished happy birthday by the queen in the mini movie. And I figured how I would do that is basically we'll kind of get Eve's birthday going and have her age up into a young adult or an immortal. And then I'll basically just have everyone hanging around the banquet hall until maybe, midnight. And then we can get Bloom to blow out her candle so that they still on their separate days. But initially I was going to do like one video for each, but then I figured they're so close to each other, might as well just spend the episode focusing on both of them. So that's kind of what's happening. They're both sharing the same cake and whatnot. And also, I just wanted to use the banquet hall more because I think it looks pretty boss. And yeah, we definitely need more occasions here. And I'm just excited we can celebrate birthdays somewhere other than the dining room. But okay guys, before we dive right in, let me go ahead and talk through what we saw in the mini movie. We started off by the pool with our queen and Princess Eve, and Eden was uncharacteristically being quite maternal and motherly, and she was wishing Eden happy birthday, and she was saying, I'm suddenly thinking of when you were a child and how worried I was about you fitting in with the others. And Eve was kind of surprised. She was like, oh, I'm surprised you worried at all, because Eve doesn't feel like Eden is that concerned about her or considers her as important as, Kyra and maybe Juno, because she didn't get to participate in the Royal Tournament after all. But Eden was saying, of course I was worried. You've always been more special than you were ever given credit for. So you know what? I feel like Eve is like Eden's secret favorite child, to be honest, guys. I feel this way. And I think that, yes, Kyra has always kind of been openly a favorite, and she's always been more inclined towards Kyra, but I feel like Eve has always been a secret favorite of hers, because if you think back to like how Blaze and Luciano were chosen to pair with the queen, like Kyra and Juno's fathers, at that time Guinevere kind of had more control and she was dictating a lot of things, so she's the one who instructed the queen, or influenced the queen to pair up with Blaze and pair up with Luciano, whereas Prince Voldemort, Eve's father, was the first kind of mate that the queen chose for herself, and he was kind of one of the first big decisions she made for herself after she kind of recognized Guinevere was getting a bit too much control and power, and she kind of kicked her down a notch. So I feel like, and the whole decision to stop breeding with the visitants, that was kind of Eden's thing, and one of the first big things she did as queen, and that's always stuck with her. And also the fact that Eve on her father's side is royalty as well, because, paternally, the kingdom that Voldemort's from, they recognized males as royalty, whereas in the Salazar Empire hasn't typically been the case, so they're not as high in standing as the females. So she kind of always had a unique identity for Eden and a special place in Eden's heart. But obviously, as time has kind of gone off, and this is also the reason why, remember guys, Kyra started disliking Eve in the first place, because she was always the important one, and then when Eve was born, she felt like the queen was giving her too much attention, and that made her feel as though Eve as a visitant was even more worthless, because it's like, she's not like me, so why is she getting as much attention as me, right? So that was like a Kyra thing that happened, and I feel like a lot of us might have forgotten this, but yes, the dislike for visitants, even among the sisters, it all sparked from the fact that Eden used to give Eve a little bit more attention. So that's kind of what's been going on, and Eden, as I think as time has gone by and as Eve has been growing older, especially like noticing that her giving Eve more attention is kind of causing more problems, and then they had like the whole Sunlight Massacre thing and a bunch of other stuff going on. So the Queen was like distancing herself publicly from Eve and her visitant daughters, so that if she made like a pro-visitant choice in the future, people wouldn't blame her for favoritism and being unreasonably soft because, she is being influenced by her visitant daughters. So even though a bunch of us might think that Eve doesn't care for her visitant daughters, she actually does. There's just a convoluted way of her showing it, on top of the fact that she's just an insensitive and childish character in general, right? So, yeah, she was basically, reaffirming for Eve that, no, you are important, don't forget that, and I do consider you important, even if I may not express it all the time. And then she went to visit Bloom, so she and Bloom had, like, a private conversation in the birth chamber, and she was, again, saying happy birthday to Bloom, and then she was telling Bloom that this is going to be the most important time in your life, because how you do now is going to determine whether you have a chance to be queen, right? Whether you even have a chance. And Eden kind of knows that Bloom and Ice, they're kind of almost like Eve's minions, they follow her around. And she was telling Bloom, follow Eve, but don't succumb to her, right? Because I think Eden also recognizes that Eve is very determined, and yes, the Queen was worried for her when she was younger, but she's kind of pleased to see that Eve has managed to build her connections and carve out like a place for herself. But her carving out a place for herself is also reliant on the fact that she suppresses her younger sisters and makes sure that they don't compete with her. So Eden was kind of giving Bloom a soft reminder to not give in to Bloom just because she really adores Bloom. Because at the end of the day, that's the Salazar way, that's the vampiric way. All the sisters must compete. And I think Eden recognizes that Juno and Kyra had a very healthy competition going on when they were younger, whereas the visitant daughters, not quite. The visitant daughters don't have a healthy competition going on. I mean, if they were as open as Juno and Kyra, who knows what the heck would happen. I feel like, especially Eve, like, people would get salty. So, yeah, Eden was giving her daughters that reminder. And then we had a final scene between Prince Darrell and Princess Eve. They were having some alone time in the children's quarters because, nobody was lingering there. I think by that point, Bloom and Ice had kind of come upstairs and everyone was kind of busy bustling around the banquet hall. So they kind of snuck off down to, the dungeon. And Eve... Hold on a second. No, Darrell, he was complimenting Eve, saying happy birthday, my love, and you look as beautiful as always. And Eve was kind of joking around, and she was saying, oh, I'll probably look even more beautiful once I'm an immortal, because, the transformation, the makeover that she's going to go through, of course. And Darrell, he started going off on a bit of a tangent, saying, I wish I could claim you in public and call you my own. And then Eve kind of drew away from him, and then she looked at him and she was like, don't be ridiculous, or don't be unreasonable, brother. Like, people, they're not going to accept us. And I think Darrell was getting a bit agitated, and he was saying, not if we don't force them to. For how long do we hide? And for Eve, that was the end of it. She said, the conversation ends here. So that's kind of where things left off. I feel like Darrell has been becoming a little bit more antsy about their relationship, especially because now that Eve is becoming an immortal everyone's kind of being reminded, or at least he's thinking of, you know, back when Kyra became an immortal, she, like, as a teen, she and Channing were secretly seeing each other, but when she became an immortal, she kind of stood up to public sentiment, and she said, no, I am going to court him in public, and I don't want to hide us. I don't want to have to tiptoe around everyone. I've worked hard to get to where I am, and I think I deserve to have a happy relationship. So she kind of made that declaration, and she didn't care what people thought. She announced it, and her and Channing, you know, they were happily seeing each other in public until Channing died. So there was that. And then even after, like, his death, now Kyra's engaged, whatever the circumstance may be. Basically, he's seeing the fact that there are people who are claiming their happiness, and, you know, in the instance where they can't have it, also, they're being matched now. They're reaching, like, as immortals, they're becoming eligible to be matched with other people. So I think Daryl's freaking out a little bit because, one, he wishes that Eve was as brave as Kyra and could declare their relationship, however forbidden it is. And then, like, for him, it's almost like, yes, the Salazars consider it forbidden, but the Visitants don't, and they're following the Visitant way of life. And, you know, if that's kind of normal in the Visitant lands, why can't they push for a change to normalize it here? That's, like, his mindset. And then also, he's getting worried that if they continue to stay in the dark, then once Eve, you know, she's a princess, once she becomes an immortal, what if the queen decides to match her up with someone for an alliance? Just like she's done with Kyra. So he's worried that he's going to be sidelined permanently if things continue as is. So that's kind of where we left off. Everyone is in the banquet hall right now. Daryl's around here somewhere. But let us go ahead and get this birthday going. So essentially what I'm going to do, you can kind of see Eve's, it's like 3:45 p.m. But we have Eve's birthday, and then Bloom's birthday is right over here. So I'm thinking we'll get Eve to blow out the candles, and then I'm going to pop, like, another set of candles, and then we'll kind of just have everyone doing their own thing around here. And then when it's midnight, we can bring Bloom back and blow out her set of candles, so we still fall on separate days. But okay, let me turn headline effects on. Headline effects on. There we go. There we go. And we've invited everyone that we can possibly invite. We have Kyra's companion group, Eve's companion group, and we also have the demons somewhere around here. You know, they've been summoned by the queen. So let's actually get Eve to blow out the candles. So we'll start off with this. And then once she's blown out the candles, I'll turn autonomy back on and everyone can kind of do their own thing. So let's come on and get this done. Let's come on and get this done. But obviously Eve is very clear on the fact that, you know, they won't accept her and Daryl. Their situation is very different from Channing and Kyra, and she does not want to push it. Okay. Blowing out the candles. Now, obviously, there's not going to be, like, a huge change in appearance because we know how she looks. The jump from teen to young adult ain't that dramatic. Not as dramatic as it is going to be, like, for Bloom. And when she's done, we'll, like, add some birthday candles here. Okay, let's add birthday candles. But I think their features do get a little bit more defined. I think, yeah, when they become, you know, immortals, their features do get a little bit more defined. But yeah, I'm excited. I'm gonna wait till Bloom has her aging up before, you know, I do the makeovers, just to make it easier for myself. So we're gonna keep Eve walking around as is. Look, Mordred's here, and so is Kay. But I'll kind of let everyone do their own thing, and then once Bloom has, like, she blows out the candles, then I can do the makeovers. But okay, aside from that, guys, I wanted to let you know that in the previous episode, in the video description, I have gone ahead and actually linked the individual Instagram posts that I mentioned beforehand. So like all 15 of the posts are linked in the video description. And then one of you lovelies, I think it was Harper Ellery, you said that it would be a good idea to maybe also have the Instagram posts be like public Patreon posts for people who don't have an Instagram account, so you guys wouldn't miss out on that. And I really liked that idea. I don't know why it didn't cross my head. So that's also what I've gone ahead and done. So below the Insta post links, you have the Patreon post link. So all of those 15 Insta posts I made, I've put them on Patreon as well, so you guys can check that out if, you know, it's easier for you guys to do on that. And they are public posts, so don't worry. You don't have to be like a patron to be able to access those posts. So I've gone ahead and done the exact same thing in this video as well. So after the previous episode, we had 3 new posts that I made on Instagram, which are going to be linked in the video description. But let's kind of go through what those posts were. So the first one was, where you going, Ice? The first one was with Ice and Catalea, and Ice, she was kind of hearing things and making connections, and then she had questions for her second mother, and she found out that Catalea had ties to the demon faction, which, you know, is kind of public knowledge, but she was so excited to know that her second mother is a demon vampire hybrid. And we also learned a little bit more about, you know, Catalea's backstory, like her origins. So we found out that, Ice found out that Catalea's father was a demon, but then her, like, vampire mother raised her outside of the demon lands. So, you know, there was that, and she kind of felt like there was a connection between her and Catalea as hybrids, even though Ice is like a cultural hybrid rather than a hybrid race. So after that whole conversation, she felt a lot closer to Catalea, which was really cute. So that was one post. And then we had another post between, it was of Bloom and Nixon, which I was kind of excited about. And Bloom, she's so cute, but she was basically talking about how she finally was able to get into a conversation with Nixon, and like he's really elusive, even though he is her stepbrother. They don't really talk a lot, and she's never been able to speak to him too much. Like, other people have always been taking up her time, and Nixon has just been, you know, mysterious. So there's that, but then, you know, she's always looking over her shoulder, or glancing around to see if he's like in the area, because she's always aware of whether he's present or not. And then she, you know, she was kind of wondering if that's strange, and it's like she knows it's silly, but because she's like so young, but she can't help feeling drawn to him. He's like so different to all of the other young lords, and she was hoping she made an impression on him. Now, the thing to note in the Salazar like society, right? In Salazar society, in the vampiric society here, stepbrothers and stepsisters, they're like game. Like, that is game. You can pursue them. The vampires, the Salazars, that's okay for them. Like, if you're not blood related, that's okay for them. The thing that's a bit iffy for the Salazars, or like forbidden, is obviously blood siblings and cousins. That's kind of a no-go zone. I mean, to be fair, like, I'm pretty sure Channing was like the queen's cousin. So yes, they were kind of related distantly, and that's fine. They've like done that. I'm pretty sure Eden's mother paired up with her great uncle to produce Eden and Guinevere. So like they do have these kind of, you know, relationships or incestuous pairings, but not super closely related. Like for the Salazars, blood siblings and cousins are too close. That's too close. But step siblings are fine. That's game. That's game, to be honest. But yeah, so that was a post that we kind of had, which I thought was kind of cute, because we only see, I feel like, Bloom in the videos. She's kind of always chasing after Eve, and she's all about Eve and, you know, being active and being like the super liked one. Even with Reed, like he finds Bloom so beautiful and he couldn't stop looking at her, even when Ice was like chatting away in their little group of 3. So we see her being the center of circle, and it almost feels like she's like this really confident princess who knows she's like fairy-esque and so beautiful. But actually she's you know, she's got some, I wouldn't say insecurities, but she definitely is a bit more like cautious and I suppose sensitive when it comes to Nixon. So that was kind of interesting. And then we had the final post between Diana and Delphi. So Diana and Delphi were chatting with each other, and Diana just had to share her excitement for Kyra's engagement with someone. We know how much she reveres Kyra, to the point where I feel like she almost dehumanizes Kyra and puts her like on this pedestal of being a goddess and, you know, just being able to do everything. And I feel like in Diana's mind, Kyra does everything because she knows it'll make her stronger. She doesn't consider the fact that Kyra's going along with it because she has no other choice. She doesn't consider that because, you know, it would mean that Kyra is weaker than she thinks she is. So anyways, she wanted to talk to Delphi because of that. She was kind of just fangirling about Kyra. And, you know, she kind of feels like not only is Kyra, like, winning all these battles, but the royal mother, like the queen, she's going out of her way to make all these good matches for her. So obviously Kyra's really special and everyone really loves her and cares about her. And then Delphi kind of mentioned that Kyra didn't seem to be, like, too comfortable during the engagement, or she wasn't, you know, that happy. But Diana kind of you know, just brushed it off. She kind of brushed off the comment, and she was saying, I think it's just nerves. Like, she hasn't intended now. She's probably just a bit nervous around, you know, the Demon Prince, but I don't think she was uncomfortable or upset or anything like that. It was just nerves. And then, you know, she told Delphi not to worry about it. Like, it's Princess Kyra. She'll have it under control soon enough. Like, she'll get used to everything, and then she'll be back to being her confident self. So those were the posts that I made after the previous episode. So I'll link those in this video description. Feel free to check them out, either on Insta or on Patreon. So, okay, we've got a couple hours left before we have... Who's out here making a mess? Honey, what are you doing? What are you doing? Aren't you already friends with Delphi? Are you friends? You're not. Okay, she's not friends with Delphi. Okay, well, yes, there is that. But actually, what's Birthday Girl up to? Because Eve wanted to become friends with Lady Lexi. So why don't we do that? I feel like this is just her being characteristically Eve and just building connections. So let's go ahead, calm down, chat with Lady Lexi. Maybe she feels like she is in need of, like, blessings at this point. She's in need of some blessings. That makes sense. Oh, and I'm just realizing, like, we still have to do her like, final stage of training, or her battle with Guinevere, which I haven't done just yet, and it's like 10 p.m. I'll do that in a bit. I kind of just want to... I'll let us socialize right now. We can do the battle after she has a makeover, because then she'll also look cooler as well. So I think I'll wait for that. But okay, let's just head off. Let's talk to Lexi. Maybe she's, like, noticing that Lexi has been doing, like, these prayers for the heiress and all that stuff, and she feels like she's falling a little bit behind. She's like, you know what? I need the priestess on my side. I need the priestess to put in a good word for me to the goddess. Thank you very much. Why not? That feels like a Eve thing to do. Okay, let's gossip about ancient vampires. She's being kind of romantic here, isn't she? Like, she's getting all of these romantic interactions popping up. Like, interesting? Interesting, but you know, it's a bit sidetracked. Let's share energetic tips. Let's go ahead and discuss some interests. I'll go ahead and, you know, discuss fitness techniques. Why not? Okay, we'll get them to continue chatting. What's Bloom doing? Bloom. Oh, Bloom, where are you? Oh, she's right over here. She's like, she's like trying to celebrate. Oh, Bloom. Bloom, what are you doing? She's like staring into the abyss that is the fireplace. Okay, I'll let these two. Okay, it's midnight though. It's midnight, which means it is finally Bloom's birthday. Okay, we're gonna get Bloom to come here and blow out the candles as well. So Bloom, let's come on over. Let's blow out the candles, honey, to make you a teenager. I am quite intrigued to see what she's gonna look like because, you know, this is gonna be different. So Bloom, let's blow out the candles. I have no doubt she's gonna be absolutely beautiful, but I'm curious how different to Kyra she's gonna look, because I feel like her and Kyra look very similar. At least, you know, the children versions of them. Okay, and here she is. Oh, she's cute. Hold on a second. I want to take a look at her. Okay. Here is Bloom, guys. She's cute. Look at this. She's adorable. She doesn't look exactly like Kyra, but she looks very similar to Kyra. Bloom. I like you. You're so cute. Oh, she has like that pixie vibe going on, you know? She's got the pixie vibe that Kyra does, like the fairy look. Oh, that's adorable. Okay, where is... And everyone's just like busy doing their own things. Maybe I should have confined them to the hole. Perhaps. Okay, Eve, where'd you go? What are you doing, Eve? What is she doing? I don't know what she's doing, to be honest. I don't know what she's doing. Okay, I'm gonna go ahead, now that Bloom has had her makeover? What am I saying? She's aged up. Jeez. Now that she's aged up, I'm gonna give Eve a makeover, her immortal makeover, and then I'm gonna give Bloom her teenage makeover, and then we'll jump back in and we'll complete Eve's training by getting her to battle against the champion until she wins. So I'll see you guys in a bit. We are back after finishing the makeovers of our two birthday princesses. Let's start off with Princess Eve on the left. She has a dark green color scheme going on with all of her outfits. Her hair is no longer up in a bun. It is down, very much inspired by what Lady Litha had going on, because, you know, she was, I feel like, one of the most beautifully styled vampiresses in the Coven, and to be honest, I can totally see Eve wanting to be that kind of iconic, like, princess in her generation. I can definitely see her aiming for that sort of thing, like soft power, almost. So her appearance, it's very glamorous, but I feel like kind of poisonous, you know, mysterious. Like, I can imagine her scheming scandalous things in the moonlight, and like being the type of princess that's kind of shadowy, so maybe, you know, she'd be a bit hard to get sight of, but once you do, you want to see more, you want to know more, and like she almost allows people to get glimpses of herself as she's walking through the castle. I just had that image of her and I flippin' love it. It feels very in character. And in terms of the trait that she got aging up into an immortal, she is paranoid. Yeah, guys, Eve is paranoid. So I think for her, even though Eden kind of not a pep talk, but, Eden reminded her that she is indeed special and that Eden has, worried for her in the past and she does care for her. Even though they went through that conversation, I feel like Eve's kind of grown up with the mindset that if she doesn't see it, she doesn't necessarily believe it, right? She takes what people do to her at face value, or how they act around her at face value. So it makes her like overly suspicious of people's behavior. So even though, and I mean this in a doubtful way, so like even though the queen's telling her that yes, I care about you, Eve doesn't necessarily believe that her mother cares about her as much as she cares about Kyra and maybe Juno, because she doesn't see that. For her, like, you made me sit out of the royal tournament, so that doesn't look like care to me. If you really did love me the way that you're saying you love me, you should be actively working in my favor and helping me to like get a stronger foothold in the court, but I'm kind of having to do things myself, so thank you, but no thank you. That's kind of her attitude. She looks at everyone with a bit of doubt and distrust, so unless you're like jumping over yourself to be completely on her side, she won't trust you to the full extent. So with her, she, like with Daryl and Delphi and George, not so much George, but I feel like Daryl and Delphi, she trusts them, but that's only because they have like that secret circle going on with the incestuous relationships, and for her it's like, I know your weakness and I'm your only safe harbor, so I can put my trust in you, because if you betray me, then you're kind of betraying yourself too, or you've made yourself vulnerable to me, so I feel like I can like do the same to you, kind of thing. I hope that makes sense. But yeah, that's kind of what I'm seeing for Eve. She's gorgeous though, I have to say. Like, this makeover did wonders for her. She looks exactly like her coloring is different, but she looks exactly like Eden. And I have to say, I'm not a big fan of Eden. I mean, we already know this at this point. Even though I love Guinevere, like Guinevere and Eden are identical, but maybe it's the styling. I do not like Eden's style, like, at all. I did it, but I don't like it. It fit her character for me, but like I don't like it at all. Whereas with Guinevere's style, I kind of love the style she's got going on a lot more. So I feel like Guinevere is prettier than Eden, even though they look exactly the same. Anyways, the reason why I'm going on this tangent is because Eve looks identical, pretty much, to Eden. And yet, because of the style she's got going on right now, like, she looks 10 times prettier than Eden, I'm not gonna lie. They have the exact same features, but she looks 10 times prettier because of her style. Like, she's seriously glowed up since a teen, not gonna lie, seriously glowed up. And then on the right, I'll take a closer look at them in a second, but let's quickly talk about Bloom. So on the right, we have Bloom, our 5th princess, and she has a green color scheme, so not dark green, but green. And very much I wanted that to be because I see her following Eve. And you know how I talked about, like, if someone's not jumping over themselves to cater to Eve, she doesn't consider them, like, close, or she doesn't consider them trustworthy. Yeah, Bloom fits into that category perfectly. She is one of those people who, is constantly falling over herself to make things happen for Eve or to get Eve's approval. So, as far as Eve can see, she is on Team Eve, right? She's on her side. And Bloom doesn't try and hide that. She doesn't try and play games in terms of, like, manipulation and whatnot. She, like, politics. She doesn't really do that. She's quite honest. She's quite upfront. She knows whose side she's on or what she's supposed to be doing, and she's kind of happy with that. But I do feel like, along with that, she is very influenced by the things that Eve likes, and because Eve has, like, dressed herself in, dark greens, Bloom wants to dress herself in greens because, she's emulating Eve. Kind of what we see going on with Diana and Kyra, but I feel like it's a lot healthier with Bloom and Eve. I don't think Bloom's obsessed with Eve. I think she just really adores Eve, and she's very open about it. And then with her hair, she's got kind of this scruffy like look going on with her hair, and even throughout her outfits, like she's not overly formal in the way she dresses, and I feel like that's because I imagine Bloom as being a sort of like playful, like physically active, sporty type of princess. The one who kind of loves running around making errands for Eve in particular. So she's very like hands-on and practical. And she doesn't have time to, style her hair, to brush her hair, and make sure that she wears the most prim and proper dress. She's kind of just putting things on and she's out of there. She wakes up and she's out of bed or / coffin, so to speak. So her hair's always kind of like slightly messy, and I love that look on her. Makes me feel as though she's constantly on the move. And in terms of her trait, so the trait she aged up with was squeamish. So I interpret that as Bloom not being very confrontational. I think this is inspired quite a lot by the way Ice is around her. I feel like because of that, Bloom's got a very optimistic view of life. So she doesn't like, getting into fights with people. She doesn't like confronting people. She doesn't like kind of the harsher side of life, which is, violence and death and like sickness. She is very uncomfortable with those kind of things. She has this utopian, I feel like, view in her mind of how they can live in harmony and everything kind of fits together well because people understand the way things work and they don't fight kind of the order of the world. And in like her mind, for example, with Eve, from the time she was young, she's had to really battle it out in terms of relationships with Kyra and Juno, her sisters, because she knows she's been outcasted, right? So for her, every interaction is a fight. Every friendship she makes is essentially a fight against Kyra and Juno. It's that tug of war in the court when it comes to influence, right? Whereas with Bloom, from a young age, she's always known that she's supposed to follow Eve, and Eve is kind of like, their leader. So she's never really gone against that grain, and she's never really thought, oh, maybe I should compete with her to be leader. No, because it doesn't make sense to her. For her, there is one way things are supposed to be, and why would you fight against that? So she feels as though, just like she follows Eve, others should also understand that at the end of the day, Eve is the most, appropriate one to become the next queen. So obviously people are going to see Eve's merits, and obviously people are going to, be on her side and champion her. That's kind of her mindset, and if, everyone understands the way things are supposed to be, there doesn't have to be any confrontation because the natural order will kind of sort itself out without people having to fight. That's kind of like her mind frame. So that's why I feel like all these different things, like the harsher side of life, it's very uncomfortable for her, and she kind of freaks out a bit when she's confronted with all of that. Even though she's active, she doesn't like violence. She lives in La La Land, sort of. And in her La La Land, Ice is her, super cheerful sister, and then Eve is the one who basically tells them what to do. And as long as they follow these rules, life will be great. But let's take a closer look at these two. So here we have Eve. You can kind of see definitely some of, especially with the way she's styled, I feel like even more so, you can kind of see a little bit of Eden, you can see a little bit of Guinevere, a little bit of Juno, I feel. But she looks gorgeous. She looks gorgeous. That green looks so good on her. And then we have Bloom. Look at Bloom. She definitely has this pixie fairy vibe that Kyra has going on. Definitely. But yeah, she's not as put together as Kyra. She's definitely a little bit more scruffy. But she's lovely. She's lovely. Look at her. Look at her. She has like that beauty spot on the right side of her face, but it's kind of hidden by her hair. Her eyes, though, very much reminding me of Kyra. But okay, those are our lovely ladies. Let's take a look at them in the dark forms. So let's get you to get changed and Bloom to get changed. And then we can see the dark forms of our ladies. Oh, Delphi! Delphi, no! Don't get in our way! Jeez, Delphi. Okay, hold on. Honey? No. Honey. Can you look up? What? Why are you making that face? Bloom! Why are you making that face? Bloom just wants to stare at the ground. Bloom, come on. Thank you. Can you stare, like... There we go. Okay, so in her dark form, Eve, she's got kind of almost that demonic, like, skin. I don't know if it's because she's got some demon maybe in her bloodline somehow, somewhere. But actually, some of the others have this as well. I think, yeah, Elaine in her dark form, she has that red skin. So, who knows? They might have something in their blood. They're not half demons, but, you know, they might have something in their blood from, like, way back when. But she's got the brown dress in her dark form. And then she's got brown hair. So there we go. That is our lovely Eve. And then for Bloom, she's got this like mustard yellow dress. And then I kind of love her vibe. She's got like gray skin. She's got white hair as well. That's all kind of blending in almost. Very ghostly. She's got a very ghostly appearance, I feel like, in her dark form, which is kind of cool. And especially beside Eve, it almost feels like in her dark form, like Eve is the, like, she gets the spotlight and Bloom almost becomes invisible because, you know, she's a follower of Eve and she's not supposed to be in the limelight. It's supposed to always be Eve. Curious. Very, very curious. But okay, I'll get these two changed. Let's hide, and then they can, you know, go about and do their thing. Oh, wait, no. Wrong. Hold on a second. Hide. There we go. There we go. I do feel like this episode has stretched a bit because obviously we were kind of discussing the makeovers and the personalities and whatnot. All of these things that we were doing with our lovely Sims. And you know, the thing that's crossing my mind, look at Daryl walking around here. We know that he had like a bit of a problem, you know, with wanting to go public with Eve and being a little bit concerned of Eve potentially getting attention from like others. If he was worried before, I don't know how worried he's going to be now. Like, look at her. She is just gorgeous. Like, I can imagine if someone, like, sees her at this point, like, if someone completely new came to the court and they lined up all the princesses, they wouldn't be able to look away from Eve. Not gonna lie. The queen can say whatever she wants about Kyra and Bloom being the prettiest, but I'm telling you guys, if someone saw all the sisters lined up, they wouldn't be able to look away from Eve. She just looks that, like, enchanting. She looks that enchanting. Okay, so I think I am going to wrap up the episode here. It was definitely like a birthday episode focused on our two princesses, but I hope you guys enjoyed. Let me know what you think of Eve and Bloom. Whose makeover did you like more? I like them both for different reasons, but Eve tops it for me. And yeah, I will see you guys next time when we come back. What do we have going on? When we come back, I'll have to see because we do have like a Day of the Goddess. So yeah, we do have the Day of the Goddess. I don't know if I want to focus in on this. And then we do have Delphi's birthday coming up. Actually, guys, you know what? I am supposed to end the episode, but I just realized... Or should I save that for the next episode? You know what? Eve hasn't completed her training just yet because she still has to fight with Guinevere, and she has to like win against her to have completed like officially her training. We haven't done that yet. I think I'll do it in the next episode so that yeah, we can focus a little bit in on that. And I'll kind of leave it, otherwise the episode's going to stretch a bit long. So okay guys, I'm going to leave off. Thank you so much for watching. I hope you all enjoyed, and I will see you all next time. Bye bye.